Hey guys, welcome to today's video. It's going to be a good one. It's not about fear, it's not about just trying to make you worry, but we need to be aware of some of the things that are going on. So we're going to talk about a few things today that I hope you are watching and paying attention to, hoping we can find a little wisdom from it and also gain a solution. We need to be aware of the things that are around us so that way it helps us to prepare to figure out what's next for us and our families. So today's video, it's going to be a good one and it starts right now. As we said in the intro, we see some bad things happening and our goal is to gain wisdom, see what's happening so we can build a solution or prepare for what is coming. That's the point of these videos that we talk about. It's not about fear, it's not about trying to make you worry, it's all about making you aware of the reality that we are in and that sometimes our government puts us in. Let's talk about a few of those things today. Now, if you're new to our channel, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but also leave us a comment of what you think of this video, things that you are seeing that I may have not addressed in the last few videos, but things that could help us be more aware of our surroundings and what's going on. So let's jump right into it. A few things to keep your eye on this next week. We've seen the stock market really tank. It's went down about 15 to 20% depending on which reports you're looking at, but ultimately that's a lot of loss for the people who are retiring right now and also for the ones that are depending on retiring in the next few years. Now, the thing that scares me the most about this is that you have worked so hard to put this money up, not because you may have wanted to put it in a 401k or an investment, but that the government makes you put it in some of those things. I don't like 401ks. Again, I contribute to one. I contribute to an IRA. Both those things are about the only way that you can do for retirement unless you put it straight into your home. We've talked about that before with stockpiling cash or precious metals or buying bartering goods or assets like real estate. Problem is, real estate market is tanking right now because of the Fed rate hikes, but also the stock market is tanking because of the scarceness, also because of the recession and the Fed rate hikes. If we don't find a safety to put our money and our funds and our hopefully our retirements or our kind of a stocking up of our funds to live off of when we're not having to work when we get older, we can't depend on Social Security. It seems like, you know, it's a Ponzi scheme in itself. Our 401ks are tanking, real estate investments and assets are struggling because of the Fed rate hikes. Now remember, the only way to get out of a recession is doing kind of what the Fed's doing. I don't back the Fed. I think a lot of the issues that we have is based on what government and the Fed and all that's been done. But I think we're looking at a time where your money and your retirement is not safe. So I would challenge you, if you're able to work, you keep on working or you find side hustles. Also, you need to be putting your money into things that are important to you to take care of your family. So whereas you may have owned a piece of real estate to rent out, maybe you had money in the stock market and it's tanking. I'm not saying do anything crazy with that right now, but what I am saying is more money that typically would go into those things because of the volatility. You may want to have a solution of saying, I'm going to do more like precious metals. I'm going to do more investment on my home front. I'm going to invest in, you know, if it be energy that I can produce myself, or if it could be water I can produce myself, or it could be food, or it could be buying a piece of land to then raise food on. Say you live in the city and you can't expand where you're at. It may be buying a few acres with a friend out in the county somewhere. It allows you to know that will not go down. Now, for instance, we're sitting next to our area of timber. Now, pine right now is not worth anything. I wouldn't tell you to invest in pine for sure. But what I am saying is, because we are hopefully investing more in our land than just putting our money up in a bank or putting our money up in a retirement or buying another home, those things are all good. I'm not saying anything against that. But right now, because of the volatility, my goal is to spend money on our home and taking care of our family. So our goal has been investing in food, investing in more livestock, investing in pine, investing in land, things that I can add value to over time. It may be restocking my pond. It may be fixing new infrastructure like our barn. So we're adding value based on using our own funds on the property that we own. Also, if you're in debts, instead of putting extra money towards retirements or real estate, just a thought. Again, I'm not advising you. I'm just saying it may be wise to put some of that money towards your debts. That way you don't get in a bad spot when all the funds start going down and all of a sudden you have debts and you're not able to pay them. So right now, the worries is what the Fed is doing. They're looking to meet 2 to 3 more times to raise the rates. For instance, they're raising them most likely this early part of this next week, but they're gonna meet 2 more times. So that means that rate will raise, which will hurt the real estate market. The point of that is to make you quit spending money. Well, in a way, that's okay. You don't need to spend money. You need to be investing in your home, investing in your debts to get those off of you and make sure you are taking care of your family. And what that means is it may be food, water, it may be more self-sufficiency, it may be a piece of land, it may be pine, it may be just fixing infrastructure and your cars. Get to the point where you're not depending on paying a note or having to put tons of money up for your future. It may be investing in right now until the volatility goes away from the stock market and the Fed issues and also in the inflation. Another thing to be paying attention to, and this is where I get worried about what government is doing. We're investing tons of money in Ukraine. We've talked about this in the last few videos. Now you see we're talking more and more and more about Taiwan. Not that I don't want to help people across the world, I'm not saying that. But we already have an inflated dollar and an economy that is just literally on the brink of a lot of major catastrophe and a lot of issues. Even for the people who don't believe we're in a recession are saying that we probably will fall into a recession. So for the people like me who believe you're already in a recession, to the people who don't believe that, but they say you probably are going to be in a recession by year end, we don't need to be investing more money across overseas. So we've got the Ukraine issue. Now we're starting to say we want to put boots on the ground, or we want to add more volatility to the Asian countries such as Taiwan. That is not our fight. We need to stay out of that. We need to quit sending politicians, and politicians need to quit going to Taiwan. We need to quit talking about it. Remember, Russia and China are hanging together, not only in the BRICS nations, but they're doing a lot of drills together. They're meeting. Have to be careful on what we're doing and what the persona we're pushing. We're not a bully across the world. We're not an imperial nation where we want to start colonies. We need to quit doing that and start focusing on America and then fixing America's issues. We need to shut our mouth about Taiwan. We need to shut our mouth about Ukraine, keep our dollars here, because the more that we're sending out, the more we're talking, the more that we're spewing out that stuff, that means when something does happen in Taiwan, we're almost obligated to go. That's a bad policy. We need to quit doing that. Put people back here and start focusing on America and quit sending our politicians abroad and really shut their mouths, so that way we're not spreading this garbage across the world that we're gonna fix every issue that's going wrong. That's not our fight. To the next point about Venezuela. It is a report that Homeland Security says that Venezuela and the Maduro regime, which we're not, they don't like us too much, and here we are trying to support them with buying more fuel. Their country's falling to pieces, by the way. But they have released over 130,000 Venezuelans into America. The report shows that of that 130,000, a lot of those are not upstanding individuals. It actually says there was a representative and Homeland Security both said that a lot of those people from Venezuela were violent criminals that they're releasing into America. The crazy thing is, reported that asked the administration yesterday what they thought about that. In the words of our president said, it's just too hard to send those people back. So now we're supporting regimes that don't like us. Then we're turning around and allowing them to drop people into our country illegally and allowing them to come to a border that is not closed, and for most of them being violent criminals. That's from the Department of Homeland Security saying that. That's something that we need to keep an eye on. So ultimately, we need to quit playing politics and sending people all over America. I don't want to send our illegal immigrants to this city or this area. I think that's stupid. I don't think that's a good policy. I think we need to send them back where they came from. If we can't do that, then close the border up, and then that way we're protected. Did you know most of the politicians that are building these houses, that they're building these mega mansions, every one of them has a fence? Why do they have a fence? I don't understand that. They don't believe in a fence for our country. Why do they believe in a fence for their home? Last 2 points. One is dealing with the border again. 29 Texas counties have declared an invasion of the border not being closed. Now, what that means is they're not playing politics here. They're saying we cannot control the flow of illegal immigrants or people. We can't control the population that's coming in. We can't control the trafficking that's going on. We don't even have housing for these folks. It has been reported there's been over 340 million lethal doses of fentanyl brought across the Texas border. So I would call that an invasion. We are, in our area in South Mississippi, we are seeing fentanyl deaths. Now, we're nowhere near the Texas border, but what I'm saying is it's even affecting people here in South Mississippi to where those drugs are trafficked pretty heavy. They're busting people all the time across every state. And 340 million lethal doses? That's crazy. Talked about mass migration and everybody says, oh, we can take care of them. If we are struggling with our dollar and we're struggling with foods and also feeding other parts of the world and giving our money to Ukraine or our support to Taiwan, and all those things are good causes. I'm not saying don't do any of that. I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking about the fact, can we take care of another 4 to 5 million people on a yearly basis? That's what they're saying came across the border in the last year, 3 to 4 million people. If we do that year over year over year, do we have the places to place them? Do we have the people to help them? Is the government going to step in and help them? The government's struggling to help its own people. How are we going to help people that are coming across the border? My last point, and here's the biggest to me. I think we need to focus on this. If you remember, a lot of people have talked about the Executive Order 14067. That's what Biden signed back in March. The scary thing is, I'm going to read it directly from 14067. And nobody's talking about this, and that's what blows my mind. You hear people talk about, well, we see he signed it and it's digitizing money, so we can't buy something at a garage sale. Yeah, but here's the kicker. It gives legal government surveillance to all citizens of the United States, takes total control over all your bank accounts and purchases, and has the ability to silence all dissenting voices for good. Reason being is if it can control the money to a point where it gives you a certain amount of digitized money to spend on certain goods, then it takes it away after a certain time. I think about grants. You hear about grants all the time where people have to spend, the government has to spend money or it goes away. It's the same process, and that's what scares me. Why do we believe that the government needs that much right over us? I don't believe in a lot of the things that we've already been forced down our throats, such as the property tax situation and a lot of other taxes that we're getting. All of a sudden, this really happens where we go to a digitized dollar. It's not only destroying our main dollar, which we control more of because we can tangibly hold it. If we have a digitized dollar, it allows it to be maybe hacked more. Maybe it makes you have more money spent to take care of that money. Maybe the government can see every transaction you're doing. It's already been reported that that's what's happened. Even the Fed has said that it would be where the government knows every dollar that you're spending. That's a little scary. There was a report that said world-renowned economist, a former advisor of the CIA, Jim Rickards, said in his presentation of this 14067 and what he believes that it's going to be a major crisis for the US dollar. He says he predicts it to be the third great dollar earthquake. Now, he's talking about when Roosevelt took everybody's gold back in 1934. He took the privatized gold and actually brought it into the US government. And the second one being when, of course, Nixon got off the gold standard in 71. Now, if those two things were so impactful, and they have, since those times, there's been a lot of change to our dollar and our currency has struggled. But if all of a sudden we say we're going to add this digitized dollar, it may be the last straw of the currency of the dollar. Remember, no currency across the world has ever made it as long as the dollar has. And it seems like we're trying to destroy it as the nation who actually owns the dollar, which makes no sense. But here's the kicker. If we digitize the dollar, that means the government has more reign, rule, and regulation over its people. They may say what's worth going through a recession, it's worth going through a depression, it's worth destroying the dollar, because ultimately on the other side it gives us more power. You can manipulate the dollar to make it digitized, and then they can see what kind of money you have and what you're spending your money on. Things can really go bad quickly. So we see that with some of the policies of this administration or some of the states like California, and there's been, I think, 13 to 15 states sign on saying that they're going to back what California's doing, they're wanting to do in their states. Now, you didn't sign a bill for that. You didn't actually vote on that. Your representatives of your states did, because they've got money funneling to them to support the things that California is doing. And what that means is, if by 2025, where people can't buy a vehicle that is gas burner, or if they do, they got to pay a certain fee or a certain fine because they want you to move to all electric. If they set those policies in, that means they control you. That means if they want you to have a red roof, you can have a red roof. If they want you to have a solar panel roof, you can have a solar panel roof. And you say that can't happen. Well, look at what it's doing to the automotive. If we're saying we can't get the chips because of all this manipulation, or we can't have gas because it's killing our earth, so you've got to go electric. Well, all of a sudden, electric, you can't charge your car on this weekend because our grid is struggling, we're going through a famine. and the sun is too hot. We're going through a hot time because of climate. That means they control your vehicle. That means you have to stay at home. That means you can't move. And then all of a sudden they control your dollar for the digitized currency executive order that they just passed with the 14067. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a rabbit trail, but what I mean is you see how it's so easily being a domino effect to where things can be set in place. So solutions, let's talk about that just for a second. We've got to get a rein on our own money and our own spending. Personally, that means the first things that we talked about, we have to find other assets and other ways to put our money up to take care of our family so we're not dependent on this. When we become more self-sufficient, it allows us not to be so manipulated by the government and what they're trying to give us. Secondly, we have to keep our reps and our Senate and our elected officials accountable. Call them out for spending money and sending money across the world to get us in more issues across the world that we shouldn't be dabbling in. We need to take our 2 cents and shove it and keep our mouth shut so we will not influence another situation like the Ukraine issue and we put 60 to 70 billion dollars that we don't even have across the world. But we've seen on the Republican side and the Democrat side, they've sent representation to Taiwan. Quit doing that. They need to quit flying over there. Quit trying to light a fuse. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to light a fuse, and that's stupid. So the solution is keep your people, keep your politicians. I mean, you call their office, you email their office, you bother the mess out of them to say, get away from fighting the other people's battles. And we need to be more energy efficient here. I don't care if you think that's solar. I don't care if you think that's wind. I don't care if you think that's oil, coal. Look at what's happening to Germany. It is literally collapsing before our eyes. And no matter if you like the last president, the former president did say Germany is too volatile when it comes to energy based on Russia. And all of a sudden we're seeing it. Germany can't even afford their energy, and they're trying to take all these different plants. They're trying to keep a coal online because they've shut the other 2 down. They're having major catastrophic issues in Germany and some of those other European countries that's kind of pulled away from providing their own energy. France is starting to have some of those issues now, and even a lot of the EU is. Pay attention to that, because if we do the same thing, we're going to make ourselves very volatile, and we're going to have to keep on supporting these areas like Venezuela, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and even Russia to provide us energy and oil. Don't matter if you like it, ultimately we're still buying it. So if we're not pumping it, we're having to buy it, and it's causing a lot of issues. The solution to that is, again, push for American energy to be provided. Push for innovation in solar and wind to be better. Using water, using nuclear, using coal, using petroleum, using whatever you want to do, but make it more energy efficient or make it more environmentally safe. I don't care how you want to do it, but we can be innovative and solve it. We've always solved a lot of our issues, and it's time to put our big boy pants on and go back and do that. And lastly, we've got to quit writing executive orders. We need to get away from presidents trying to set all these policies. The whole point of the 3 branches of government is to work together. When they're not working together, things can't get passed. We understand that. That's the whole point. It's a checks and balances. But if all of a sudden we allow every president to come in here and write policy, and this is for all the parties involved, if we allow these presidents to do that, then we are making it where we're not deciding anything. Our Senate and representatives are not doing anything. They're being bought out, and then they're not even passing good policy. They're sitting over there fighting while the president is writing policy. That's not a good thing. And I know people have said before, well, the executive orders don't matter. The next guy can come in and destroy them. Yes, but they can make our life a living nightmare for a season. We need to get away from that policy and start standing up for the true way government and freedom was set up, and quit allowing the overreach to really get to us. So if we make ourselves aware of this, it's not about fear, it's not about worry, it's about making sure that we can talk and tell our points and our opinions to say we've got to get a better way of doing things. We need to go back years and years and years to where America was innovative and they tried to work together, and they were not so polarized by the 24-hour news cycle. They listened to a 5 o'clock news and they listened to their weather and they went back to work. We need to get back to where people are working, people are taking care of their families, people are not as much worried about the world, they're worried about their own pocketbook. When we start worrying about ourselves more and we start taking care of ourselves and we quit putting our hand out for the government to help us, we will start being a better nation. Because if we depend on ourselves more than we depend on the government, it can change a lot of things that are going on that are causing problems, and we need to do it together. Gaining wisdom on these things, seeing what these policies like 14067 executive order is, can really open our eyes to being better and seeing that the damage that sometimes people can cause us. It may be for a plan, it may be for a reset, I don't care, but ultimately we need a revival, and we need to fall back on our own wisdom And we need to start looking for ways to say, I want to be the solution, not just the problem. I want to not hear just about what's going on. I want to find out what we can do to fix it. So get the right people in office. I know people say you can't find the right people to go to office. There are people who are good people still, and we need to be looking for them to put in place to help us get back to the nation we once were, as a free nation, a nation that followed Christ and was the true city on the hill. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helps not only open your eyes, but see there are solutions to a lot of these things if we just gain wisdom to know what's going on. I'm scared a lot of people don't even know about some of these policies that are going on. And if we don't make them aware of it, guess what? We're just going to depend on the government until we go into our implosion or demise. So it's time for America to be the city on the hill, to serve the people like it's supposed to, and to have a freedom-loving people who want to do well for their families, take care of their families. Even the rooster agrees with me. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.